Hi, my name is Jay, and I'm going to take you through my process this semester, the two projects I sort of started with and how they merged into one and what that project ended up meaning for me. So my first project this semester was an attempt to challenge or respond to corporate advertising imagery. And I did this using highly constructed shoots of consumer products, for example, like this Big Mac. And in my next slide, which is a Milky Way bar. And I used light and color to raise questions by having the images paradoxically be appealing and disgusting and intentional and found at the same time. So my other project was an attempt to engage with a claim by American writer Susan Sontag in her essay, The Heroism of Vision, that the camera's ability to transform reality into something beautiful derives from its relative weakness as a means of conveying truth. So I photographed ugly subjects, quote unquote, and edited them to be beautiful, but tried to give some truth back to them by rephotographing them back in their original context. You can see the outside area is the sort of unedited Photoshop area, the more quote-unquote true depiction. And I continued through both of these projects, but mostly the other one, the consumer products, but trying not to see them as totally separate, since they both dealt with central questions of mine. But I became frustrated with this project because it sort of felt like a forced message to me, and I became much more focused on my other project of the food items. And the sense of discovery and exploration that they gave me. And I became more interested in the sort of contours and forms and colors rather than any explicit political message about corporate imagery. That's not to say, though, that that message is gone. It just didn't explicitly guide me anymore. And in my other project of the rephotographing, I could not really force any sort of reality or truth by rephotographing, and I realized that trying to give true context was just kind of vague and became uninteresting for me. So my major breakthrough came when I started treating the pictures I had taken, the prints of them, as objects, just like the food items I had been photographing, and use them to make whole new pictures where the whole frame is considered. And I didn't just put them back in the original context, but put them in an entirely new context to make an entirely new image. And the last one was actually a rephotograph of a rephotograph. And I realized that trying to put truth into a picture is not only impossible, but not necessarily the most interesting thing to do. And for me then, this project is really more about fantasy. And elements like form, color, and spacing, and the subject matter, the interaction of those elements became more interesting and important to me. And I started even rephotographing my consumer images. And for me, the components of these images align to make unexpected associations and constructions. And these unrelated objects came together in interesting ways, and even related ones came together in unexpected ways. And for me, these images really only make sense when you look at them, and their associations rely on numerous photographic elements. And they kind of remind me of dreams in the way that dreams only make sense when you're in them, when you're experiencing them. And these associations are really only sensical during the experience of viewing the images. For example, a Hershey's bar and a cheap wig from Walmart don't really sound related, but here, for me, they're inseparable. And I wanted to move beyond conventional ideas of how things are and should be associated, and move into a world where the visual elements work, even if they sound like nonsense on paper. And here, my project has even gone into the abstract, to the point where the subject matter has allowed me to focus on color and shape relationships and create an entirely new form, where the original true subject matter is not even really relevant. Here, the photographing technique becomes more about something of an illusion, and dispensing with an idea of using rephotographing to convey a truth. I would use it just to create an entirely new image, an entirely new experience. But I became stuck with how to present these images, and I wanted a way to bring out these images' potentials, and I sort of by default put them in a grid, but that wasn't really working, and with suggestions from my professor and classmate, I started making a series of images, and I hope that that strategy would help further amplify unexpected associations, and I really have tried to stick with sequences I feel enhance the experience, and let some images stand alone if that works better. So reflecting on the semester, this project has really then been about my growth as a photographer and my discovery about the potentials of photography. I've made these bizarre associations, creating new worlds for me to get lost in. And this project isn't then about food or just leaves, but about my discovery of what photography can be, of the control that I can have, and of the joy that that brings. And I have not really disproven the original Sontag claim that the camera's ability to transform reality into something beautiful derives from its relative weakness as a means of conveying truth. I have really found this beauty, these new experiences, by leaving behind truth and expected associations, and let my imagination and playfulness guide me into new worlds.